Hello everyone, and welcome back to our journey through the Stone Age. We've talked about the constant struggle for survival, the tools, the hunting, the dangers, but humanity is more than just survival. There's a point in our history when something magical happened. For the first time, humans danced not just to prepare for a hunt or to ward off predators, but for pure, unadulterated joy. This is the story of how our ancestors learned to celebrate life itself. Imagine a world governed entirely by nature. The sun rises and sets, the moon waxes and wanes, and the seasons turn in an endless, powerful cycle. For early humans, these weren't just background events. They were the very rhythm of existence. The arrival of spring meant new life, the melting of snow, and the return of migratory herds. Summer brought long days and abundant growth. Autumn was the time of the great harvest, a frantic rush to gather nuts, berries, and grains before the world froze over. And winter was the long, dark test of their preparation and endurance. These cycles of seasons, the success of a great hunt, the bounty of a harvest, these were monumental events. They were the difference between life and death, prosperity and starvation. It was in these moments of profound relief, gratitude, and awe that the seeds of ritual and celebration were sown. Our ancestors began to feel a deep need to mark these occasions, to give thanks, and to connect with the powerful, unseen forces they believed governed their world. This is where music, dance, and offerings first entered the human story, not as art forms, but as a vital way to celebrate life and express gratitude to the great mystery of nature. So, where did this idea of ritual even come from? As with so many human innovations, it began with careful observation of the world around them. Early humans were master observers of animal behavior. They saw the elaborate mating dances of birds, the powerful, coordinated movements of a wolf pack on the hunt, the seasonal migrations of vast herds. They witnessed that animals had their own rhythms, their own innate rituals tied to the seasons and the fundamental drives of life. They saw that these actions weren't random. They had purpose. They led to successful mating, to a successful hunt, to survival. This observation sparked a powerful idea. What if we could do that too? What if we could tap into that same rhythmic power? This led to the next crucial step, experimentation. Humans began to mimic the world around them. They mimicked the thunderous stampede of a bison herd by stomping their feet in unison, hoping to call the real herds near. They imitated the soaring flight of an eagle with wide, sweeping arm gestures, perhaps seeking its keen-eyed vision for their next hunt. They copied the swaying of trees in the wind and the gentle flow of the river. These were more than just imitations. They were early attempts to communicate with nature, to participate in its grand drama. They added their own voices, creating chants and songs that echoed the sounds of the wild, the howl of the wolf, the cry of the hawk, the rush of the wind. They fashioned the first instruments from hollow logs, animal hides, and bone flutes, adding a percussive, melodic heartbeat to their movements. They brought offerings the first ripe berries of the season, a portion of a successful kill, a beautifully shaped stone, and placed them in sacred spots, hoping to show their respect and gratitude. This was humanity's first great experiment in ceremony. Of course, not every experiment was a success. Early attempts at ritual were often based on incomplete knowledge. A tribe might hold a great rain dance during what they thought was the start of the wet season, only to find the drought continuing for weeks. They might perform a ritual to call the salmon, but the fish wouldn't appear. These weren't seen as failures of the gods or the spirits, but as failures in their own understanding. They realized their timing was off. The ritual was right, but the moment was wrong. This led to a profound intellectual leap. To make their rituals effective, they needed to get the timing perfect, and to do that, they had to become better observers, not just of the animals, but of the sky. They began to track the sun's path with meticulous care, marking its position on the horizon at sunrise and sunset. They noted how its arc changed, growing higher in the summer and lower in the winter. They created the first rudimentary calendars, using notches on a bone or arrangements of stones to count the days between full moons or track the length of the seasons. The moon, with its clear, predictable cycle, became a crucial timepiece. Its phases, new, crescent, full, waning, provided a reliable way to mark the passing of shorter periods. Megalithic structures like Stonehenge, which we'll explore in more detail later, are monumental testaments to this obsession with celestial alignment. They were giant, stone-built calendars and observatories designed to pinpoint the exact moment of the solstices and equinoxes. This mastery of timekeeping wasn't just for farming. It was to ensure that their most important rituals, their sacred celebrations, were performed at the precise, cosmically correct moment, maximizing their connection to the forces of nature. Their supposed failures led them to a deeper, more scientific understanding of the world. As these rituals became more refined and their timing more precise, something incredible happened. They started to work, not necessarily by magically summoning rain or animals, but by transforming the community itself. When the entire tribe came together to dance around a crackling fire, to chant in unison, to share in a communal feast after a successful hunt, it created an electrifying sense of unity. The shared experience, the synchronized movements, the collective voice dissolved individual anxieties into a powerful, shared identity. Everyone, from the strongest hunter to the oldest elder to the youngest child, had a role to play. These festivals became the bedrock of their society. They were the moments when stories were told, knowledge was passed down, and social bonds were forged and reinforced. A young boy might undergo an initiation ritual, proving his readiness to become a hunter and a man in the eyes of his community. A couple might be joined together in a ceremony that solidified their bond and their place within the tribe. A great feast celebrating the autumn harvest wasn't just about eating. It was about sharing the bounty, ensuring everyone had enough for the coming winter, and reinforcing the principles of cooperation and mutual support. These festivals were the glue that held the tribe together, creating a resilient, harmonious community that was far stronger than the sum of its individual members. They turned a scattered group of survivors into a true, unified people. And this brings us to the profound lesson our Stone Age ancestors learned, a truth that echoes through millennia and remains just as vital today. They discovered that celebration is not a luxury. It's not something you do only when all the work is done. They learned that celebration is as essential to the human spirit as food is to the human body. Survival keeps you alive, but celebration is what gives that life meaning. Think about it. The hunt provides the meat, but the feast after the hunt provides the joy and fellowship. The harvest fills the granaries, but the festival gives thanks and builds community. The struggle against the cold winter is a test of endurance, but the celebration of the winter solstice, the return of the light, is a promise of hope. These rituals were the first time humanity consciously created meaning, joy, and hope for itself. They affirmed that their existence was more than just a grim struggle against the elements. It was something worth celebrating, something beautiful and sacred. In a world full of danger and uncertainty, they chose to create moments of collective joy, and in doing so, they discovered what it truly means to be human. The power of these rituals didn't just strengthen the community, it ignited the human imagination in a way nothing had before. The attempt to understand the unseen forces of nature, to give them form and character through dance and chant, led directly to our next great leap. It was the moment when ritual evolved into something even more complex and powerful, the birth of myth, an entire universe of gods, spirits, and creation stories. And that is exactly where we're headed next time, as we explore the dawn of early belief systems. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this exploration of our shared past, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious,